All right, welcome back, Florida Football Insiders Podcast. Now it is time for Mark Moses, host of the Mark Moses Show, the Fan 107.9, Monday through Fridays, 3 to 6 p.m., sportsradio1560.com, at Mark Moses Show, based out of the Orlando, Melbourne area of the state of Florida. He is going to come in and we're talking disasters at Florida, Tallahassee, the rise of Miami as the U back, USF with a monster in-state game, UCF with a big opening Big 12 win. We'll even talk a little NFL, Bucs, Jags, and Dolphins. Mark Moses, welcome back to the podcast, sir.
Hey, buddy. I know you were on with me the other day. You were fantastic, so I had to return the favor. And I don't know about you, but I watched football. Like, I know we're in this mode right now where it's like nonstop football. I watched last Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday night my body gave out where I was like, I can't, no mas. And I passed out in the first half of that Eagles-Falcons game. So I found out the next day. I don't know about you, like, how much can your body do with this, with all this football?
You're right. You got to be careful. You got to pace yourself, man. It's only week 2. You got to pace yourself.
No, you're absolutely right.
All right. You're based here in the state of Florida like I am. Let's start with the hotbed where the temperature is now about 490 degrees up in Gainesville, Florida. Another terrible performance at home. Billy Napier, the Gators get thumped again by Texas A&M over the weekend in the swamp. Speculation running rampant. They've got the money together to buy him off. They're accumulating the money to make a big offer. Just give me a thought or two about the Florida program. What have you seen the first 3 weeks? And is there any hope for Billy Napier?
Here's my thing, which is so shocking, is everyone knew going into the season. I know this is a broken record, what I'm trying to say here. Everyone knew it was going to be a tough schedule. You said it on your podcast. It's the way they lost those 2 games, Miami on national TV and A&M over the weekend, also on national TV. Hey, if they would have played like Florida State where, hey, it's 24-21, they lose, 37-34, they lose, I think Napier would be okay. Hey, at least you're putting up a fight. There's no fight. They're just laying down and dying on the field. And Napier spent the whole offseason, I mean, I previewed it for 9 straight months. Hey, we're going to be better. We're going to figure this out. We finally got in the right direction. We're good to go. Be patient. We're going to be better on the field. And you saw it week 1. It's one of those things. It's this question I ask everyone on my show. Is it better we found out Labor Day weekend where they ripped the Band-Aid off? Because what if they played 2 or 3 cupcakes and then took on Miami? Then we wouldn't have. Now we know. Right. That's what's so shocking. And what's really sad, Jason, I covered when they fired Muschamp. I covered when they fired Mullen. I can't even keep up with all the names. McElwain. There's a lot of M's in there. I covered all these things. And now I got to cover another one. I've been covering the Gators since 2013, and I'm getting mentally prepared to cover my 5th coach in like 11 years. That's what's so sad. And there's no fighting them. And they're going to play Mississippi State this weekend. And it is the battle for who's the worst team in the SEC. What? How does that even happen?
Right.
And if they lose this game this weekend, then they're going to have the bye, because you know this. Now you have 2 byes during the season because of the expanded playoff. I think it's just when. I think you have to move on. And at this point, and you said this earlier on my show, okay, you got to give him $26 million in the buyout. Then you're going to bring in someone new and pay them. Well, where's money for NIL then?
Right.
Where's all this money going to come from? Look, I feel bad. I know Billy Napier. I've talked to him multiple times. He's a great guy, but you're the Gators, 90,000. You got to put up a fight in these football games.
And what's interesting to me, just watching them on the field, one, they don't have any dynamic players, maybe 1 or 2, but that ain't what the old Florida would have, 6 or 7 guys that would be just electric kind of guys, offense and defense. Their trenches, the offensive and defensive lines, not very good. And in this conference, in the SEC, if you're not good in the trenches, you got no chance. And just, again, non-competitive. Again, you made a great point. If they're losing by a field goal or a late touchdown, people can live with that and they see progress. But just when the game's over in the middle of the second quarter at halftime, that's the part that you can't tolerate as a fan.
Okay, here's what's weird. It's year 3. So in year one, his first game ever as a coach, he had Anthony Richardson, who's now the starter for the Colts,
Right.
which was a Dan Mullen recruit. They win that game against Utah. So his first game as a coach,
Upset.
he goes out there and wins. Last year, you forget this. Last year, they take on Tennessee under the lights. Tennessee's ranked, and they beat Tennessee in a 4-quarter football game. They go to 5-2, and you're like, okay. And ever since then, they can't win a football game against a Power 5 opponent. That's what's so shocking. Where's the fight? I'm not asking for 12-0, but come on. This team right now is going to go about 1-11, maybe get to 3 wins if you look at it.
Yeah. There's some turbulence with the administration, with the university president. Does Scott Strickland survive this, or does he get to make another hire?
No, there's no way, because he hired Mullen and then he got Napier. You can't let him keep hiring. You know this better than anyone. If you're an athletic director, you get to hire a basketball coach and a football coach. That's what you get to do. And honestly, you're going to let him hire a third coach? What are you talking about? Let someone else do it. And that's the problem, where you can't just fire Napier. You're going to have to get rid of Scott Strickland. The other problem is, if you look at it this way, we're only in September.
Right.
It's September 17th, 18th, 19th. We're kind of midway through September. Let's say you fire him. Then what? Do all the players go into the transfer portal? You still have a season to play. Who's going to go out? Who's going to coach the team in the interim? Do you have to do what I was going to say? Do you have to do where, kind of like Oklahoma did, where you had the coach leave for USC? So then Stoops had to come out of retirement and coach the team. Like, what would happen then?
That's why I think they're not going to fire him until after maybe the Texas game later on. I know the decision may already be made, but I think they're going to let him stay until week 8, week 9, something like that, because you don't want to have 9 weeks of an interim coach and chaos in the program. Players, guys that think that, you're right, the opportunity to leave potentially. That's why I don't think they're going to necessarily make a move this early, even if they were to lose to Mississippi State and or Central Florida. I think after the second bye is the time that I think they truly officially pull the plug.
You think about it, if you have to fire a coach, restart, then you're going to need 2 years for recruiting. So you're 10 years away. It's like I say with my Chicago Bulls. We have a concept of a plan since 1999. Okay, like what are you doing after a while?
Do they hire what if Scott Strickland says, I can deliver Lane Kiffin, I can deliver Dabo Sweeney, I can deliver maybe a John Gruden kind of guy? What if he says that? Do you keep him?
I think you might. The question is, what are you paying?
All the chaos in the university administration with the university president, who's going to fire Scott Strickland to make that hire if you don't have a university president?
Think about this. You're absolutely right. Think about what Miami did. Miami really finally 3 years ago opened up the checkbook.
Right.
And they went and got the athletic director from Clemson who knows what the hell he's doing. And then they went out and got the coach who knew what the hell he was doing for recruiting, Mario Cristobal. But again, they're in year 3. This is a process. Can you, like the Sixers, can you trust the process and let this happen? Gator fans, I will say this. I love them every year in the offseason. Hey, if we go 8-4, that'll be a good building block. We can go 9-3, that'd be a great season. The minute we play that first game, they want 12-0. They want to have greatness, okay?
Yeah. All right, let's go up to Tallahassee. Disastrous start, 0-3. Nobody in America thought this team would be 0-3. A disastrous loss at home to Memphis, where Norvell used to coach. DJU continues to struggle. The offensive and defensive lines, which were hyped nationally all summer as elite, have been nothing but average at best, if not below average. Give me a thought of what you see up in Tallahassee.
Well, like we said earlier, at least they're putting up a fight. They're in all these football games. I mean, they're even in Dublin and Tallahassee. I don't know. Does Florida State have road games? I get very confused by this sometimes. Like every week, because they have California at home. And then I know they will. Yeah. Florida and Florida State, by the way, if you're an outsider who doesn't live in the state, Florida and Florida State have the best ever, where you play about 8 home games and then about 4 road games. It's the best. It is. I think it's one of those things where, okay, you won 10 games 2 years ago. Yeah. You went 13-0, won the conference. They gave the extension to Mike Norvell. They're all in on Mike Norvell. He's their guy.
$62 million to walk out the door.
Well,
he ain't getting fired.
the opening at Alabama really
Right.
helped him out.
It did.
Hey, I might leave. He wasn't leaving. It's one of those things where they went all in on the DJU guy. I don't understand. And my dad said this to me the other day. I give him credit. He's like, well, how bad are the backups then? Where they can't get on the field? Like, what? That's the problem with recruiting. He's been here for more. He came in during the pandemic year. I interviewed him that first year. And Mike Norvell is a great guy as well because I liked him at Memphis. You can't recruit five-star quarterbacks. You can't. You're Florida State. You're winning. I understand it. They always say this where the great teams like Alabama, they reload.
Yeah.
They reload.
Yeah.
There's no rebuild. They reload. They lost Nick Saban, didn't miss a beat, right? But it looks like Florida State, they're actually taking, you look at that schedule, it is a weak schedule. They should win 10 or 11 games this year. But right now, I see them play 4 quarters of football. This is a disaster, and they should thank the Gators for how bad they are right now.
Did Norvell overplay the transfer portal? I mean, he's been a king of the portal the last couple of years, and it struck gold. And now you got a lot of guys who don't look like they're much into the team concept, not very motivated. Things have gone wrong. Bad evaluation of DJU. Never should have been the guy. He was never great at Oregon State or Clemson. What do you think of Norvell's philosophy of heavy portal, not nearly as much high school recruiting to reload?
Well, I think that's a lot of schools in college football right now. I don't think it's just Florida State. I think a lot of them are going hard on the transfer portal. That's why there's going to be no loyalty in college football moving forward. If I'm on the bench, if I'm third string, well, I'm out of here. If I'm not going to play, well, then the hell with you. I'm going to another school. They lost so many people. I mean, to the NFL draft, or they graduated, or they left. And it's
the leadership was so good.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, I think this. If you have a good quarterback, the rest of the team will start competing hard. But when you saw DJU missing wide open people in the end zone, you could have made those throws. Yes, and it's like, what the hell is this? Like, they better be California. I think that's it. This is the thing is, Norvell's fine. Norvell's fine. But if they have a season where they win 2 games, what is this exactly?
Right.
You remember when Willie Taggart was there, and I think was it year 2, they
went downhill in a hurry with Willie.
Dude, we were at an event. This is when I knew we were in trouble because I used to get Willie Taggart on, and I liked when he was at South Florida. He was a good coach there. Yeah. They won a lot of games. So Taggart's good dude. So we had this event at the Kennedy Space Center with the Brevard Seminole Club. You would have loved it, where Bobby Bowden was there. And this is kind of the end of Bobby. And dude, it was like meeting the Godfather. It was awesome. Like, he is the man. So he's there. Gene Deckeroff, who's one of my favorites. Yep. He's there. Lee Corso's there. Like, if you are a college football fan, this was a great event. And then someone walked into the room, and it was Willie Taggart. And I know Willie Taggart, and like, he didn't command the room. And you kind of like, what's going on here? Like, you're the coach of Florida State. And I know it was his dream job, and he was at Oregon. But you kind of knew then, like, maybe this isn't the guy. And I got that vibes with Billy Napier as well. Like, you don't command the room. And I bring this up because it's like, they kind of knew, like, oh, this isn't the guy. Mike Norvell is safe for right now. But let's see how the season keeps going moving forward.
Let's head down to South Florida again. The rise of the U. Are they back potentially? You got Mario in year 3. Got a good recruiting class. He's really trying to build it the right way, offensive and defensive lines. They bring in Cam Ward, the elite Washington State quarterback, and you saw what he did in the Swamp. He's played the part beautifully. The most electric quarterback Miami's had in a long time. Give me a thought or two about what you like about Miami.
Hurricanes have been bad for a long, long time. You and me were young men the last time they were dominating college football, and that's sad to say. That Cam Ward looks legit. My only concern is, remember last year they were undefeated and had momentum, and then they took on Georgia Tech, and then the game happened where they didn't need the ball, and then they kind of nosedived after that. That's kind of the thing where I think if you ask Hurricane fans, I know they're excited and they're fist pumping, and they love beating the Gators. Loved it, but it's still wait and see. It is. And I think the key is maybe when they take on Florida State and if they can stomp the Seminoles, maybe by midseason, all right, we are legit. But
Bro, they'll try to score 50 if they can on them. They will try
yes,
to embarrass them if they can.
yeah, and I think the key is, I think if you look at the college football playoff, the Big Ten and the SEC are going to gobble up a lot of the different
Yeah.
spots. They are. If you're the Big 12 and the ACC, you better win your conference or at least get the runner up, or you're not going to make the playoff.
Yep.
So you better, if you're Miami, you better run the table.
One
This
loss
is
at
it.
most. One loss at most for Miami.
Yes, I agree. I think they have the firepower. Mario finally, I mean, what's the thing on him? He can recruit, but
Can't
can he do
coach.
the
Can't
yeah,
manage the game.
can he manage the game? That's the number one thing. But Cam Ward looks legit. And not only that, he looks like he might be a top 10 NFL draft pick now.
Right.
That's how good he looks right now.
Sneaky good game this week. Miami comes to Tampa, Raymond James Stadium, USF, primetime Saturday night. Is this a trap special here? Or do you think USF, obviously we know what Alex Golesh is doing here, building this program. Does it, they played well at Alabama for 3.5 quarters 2 weeks ago. Is this a trap game here?
Yeah, and South Florida should have beaten Bama last year. I think it is a trap game because what's crazy in hindsight, South Florida not making a jump to a Power 4 like UCF did actually was great for them because they stay in the American. They get actual real football coaches in there, and they're a competitive program. And I think that's great for that area. I know they need the stadium on campus, but so does Miami.
And they're building it. It's getting built. Yeah. It's getting built.
So that's going to be really cool. And I think it is. I think the key is if you're Miami, you got to still act like, hey, we haven't won jack. And you haven't. And you show that should be a great game. I'm interested to see. I know you live in the area. What's the crowd going to be like?
Right.
Are there going to be a lot of Miami fans who are going to show up? What's that going to be like, Jason?
I would think there would be a good amount of. I was not encouraged. There was an article that came out in the paper early this week saying they were just opening the upper deck at Raymond James because of which that's not a great sign. To me, if you're USF with Miami coming to town, that ought to be 65, 70,000. I mean, that stadium only holds 65,000. If there's not 60,000 people in that building, whether it's Miami or USF fans, that's a real black eye on USF because give the AD credit. He's brought in Alabama. He brought in Florida. He's bringing in Miami. If you're USF and you want to be a legitimate national team, you got to sell that place out, even if some Miami fans do show up.
And what's cool also is, I talked about this with Memphis. Memphis got, 1.4 million to play Florida State, beat them and took the money, which is amazing. Hey, Memphis is in the American as well. Hey, they run the table, win the conference. They can make the playoff. Everyone's eligible.
USF, they win this game. They get Memphis in their building on a Friday night in early October.
Ooh,
that game could be seriously could be for the conference title and potentially the 12th seed in the college football playoff.
You got to go to that, buddy. You got to go to this game. That'll be an awesome game to go to.
Yeah. This is huge stakes for USF. You get a win over a top 10 team, and then you win the American Conference with maybe one more loss. You got a chance to be the Power 5. The non-Power 5 representative in this playoff bracket. So huge opportunity for Alex Golesh, Byron Brown, and that USF program. All right, last thing on the college, and we'll get to a couple NFL things. UCF, team you cover a lot, very well. Huge win opening weekend in the Big 12, 35-34 in Fort Worth. Give me a thought or two about Gus Malzahn, KJ Jefferson. Can this team be a threat in the Big 12?
Okay, so last year I was there for the debacle where they took on Baylor in their first ever Big 12 game. And they were up big, and then blew one of the biggest leads ever at home and lost that game. And that is one of the low points of the Gus Malzahn era. Right. It is. And they barely made a bowl game last year. They got, just 6 wins or so first year. Okay, that win over the weekend was gigantic. You are absolutely right. Because they were down 28-7.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone thought they'd come back. But I'll tell you, you talk about a dark horse Heisman candidate. This guy, RJ Harvey, has over 500 yards rushing, and it's through 3 games.
Right.
And if KJ Jefferson, if he could stay healthy, maybe they got a quarterback for the first time since Mackenzie Milton in 2018. And they're in the bye. They have the bye right now, and then they have a game at the end of the month.
Colorado, right? In 2 weeks.
Yes, they have Colorado. They're still not sure when the kickoff's going to be. They're still going to figure that out.
But it's in Orlando. It's in Orlando.
Yeah, I would screw with Colorado from the standpoint, hey, give me big noon kickoff. Noon kickoff, make sure it's 95 degrees. Let them have the 2-hour jet lag, and let's rock and roll and blitz them out of the building. That win against TCU, it gives me this feeling, you know what? There is no Texas. There is no Oklahoma. Yep. Maybe they can compete for this. I know Utah's kind of the favorite, and they were voted to win it.
Cam Rising hurt. The quarterback hurt.
I know.
Wide open.
Maybe you got a shot here. They got to lay the wood on Colorado. They got to make a statement. And I know Colorado, they take on, like Mountain West teams and then talk trash. Yeah, Let's see Colorado beat someone good.
Right.
Because they got killed in Nebraska. So that game, I've been to some great games. I don't know if you've ever been there before. The Bounce House.
I went to the USF-UCF game a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah. See, that's always a competitive game.
Yep.
I don't care. And I feel sad they're not playing that game anymore.
It's a good environment. It's an excellent – the Bounce House is a very good environment.
Oh, yeah. That place, when they had College Game Day and that game at night against Cincinnati, that was awesome. And I think this game coming up, especially with Dion in the crowd and the debate I've had, and you got to think about this, and so should your viewers. In the history of the Bounce House, what is the best player that's ever played there before? Maybe for the opposing team.
Right.
And I think Travis Hunter might be, because he could be a top 5 draft pick. He might be one of the best players to ever play at the Bounce House in the history of that young stadium.
All right, I got to tell the audience, those of you who are watching this on YouTube, the video, Mark Moses is wearing a UCF Phantom National Championship hat from 2017 when they declared themselves mythical national champions.
Oh, I get so many. Okay, so my buddy Andy, here's the story. So my buddy Andy Seeley used to be athletic communications. So I work with him all the time. And he's a good friend of mine. And he's like, hey, Mark, I got something for you. And I don't even know if they sold this as a hat. So what's funny is I'll wear it to do laundry and I'm like, I got to go to the store for a minute. I'll wear it. I get so many dirty looks from Florida and Florida State fans, but it's one of my favorite teams.
And time. At the Bounce House, there's a moniker up by the press box, 2017 national champions.
Yes.
So they are selling it hard, buddy.
It's in the video game, the college football. It's on it. Hey, in hindsight, man, the 2018 team when Mackenzie Milton gets injured against South Florida in Tampa, that team went undefeated 2 straight years. If they had Milton, I'll take this to my grave. That was one of the greatest teams of all time. They could score on anyone. And I wish they were in the 12-team playoff. I really do, because they would have been great.
Speaking of Dion, would he potentially ever be a candidate at Florida? Would they ever hire a guy like Dion?
No, no. I don't think he stays at Colorado, though.
I don't either.
I think his son and Hunter leave. Doesn't he feel more like Colorado is more, ground and pound when you think of the identity.
Right.
He needs to get back to even if it's a Southern school, more flashy where they're going to high up tempo offense. That's what it feels like he needs to be at. Not in a Colorado, not in the snow. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I agree. And I think he's going to pull the plug here as soon as Hunter and Shador are done there. If he were to get an offer from a mid-level SEC type school, maybe even an ACC school, getting closer to the South here, Texas maybe even a Texas school, I could see him bolting, no doubt about it.
Who's another guy who I'm actually happy that it worked out and he got another chance is Manny Diaz, where he's at Duke. Look, he should remember he was the coordinator, and then he was supposed to go to Temple.
Right.
But then 2 days later, they're like, "Oh wait, you could be the coach of Miami."
Elko took the A&M job, which opened up the Duke job.
Yeah, so that, I like that he got another chance, and he can coach. And by the way, if you want to see one of the craziest games ever played, go on YouTube and watch the highlights of that game from 2 weeks ago, where it's Duke and Northwestern with 5,000 fumbles. That's the game to watch.
I got you. All right. You listen to Mark Moses, host of the Mark Moses Show, Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 at Mark Moses Show on X and Twitter. Before we get to the NFL, I'm going to give you a word from Ticketsmarter.com. If you're looking for tickets for Miami, South Florida, if you want to go to a Gator game, a Seminole game, if you want to go to a Big Ten game, no matter where you are around the country, Ticketsmarter.com and the Ticketsmarter mobile app. Use my code POWERS10. We'll save you $10 off of $100. Powers 20 bucks off of 300. You can use the code as many times as you want during the football season. NFL, college, baseball playoffs coming up. Hockey's starting pretty soon. Theater events, concerts, whatever it is, Ticketsmarter.com is your place for safe and secure transactions, best prices on the secondary ticket market. Again, UCF in Colorado next weekend in Orlando. Tampa here this weekend, Miami, South Florida. Again, the Dolphins, the Bucs, the Jags, whatever it is, Ticketsmarter.com and the Ticketsmarter mobile app is your place to go. All right, Mark, couple NFL notes. I'll get you out of here. Okay. Give me a thought. What did you think last Thursday night when you saw Tua?
It was the worst game he's ever played as a Dolphins quarterback. I saw the actual game. I watched it. He was making so many mistakes. He had 3 interceptions. I know the first one was tipped and everything, but man, that third one, that was a rookie mistake where I know this gets lost in the shuffle because he got the concussion. The third one, he just throw it out of bounds, take the sack. Right. And it was a pick 6. That game exposed the Dolphins where, okay, they are better. Remember, they used to be a basement team, but they're better. They're competitive. They can make the playoffs, but the Buffalo Bills just own them. Yeah, own them in that game. And the defense was atrocious. And then it's like, just slide. Go down. What are you doing? And then it was DeMar Hamlin. It was just like, what the hell is this?
Right.
And don't forget, whole country was talking about that Friday. Everyone who does a sports show was talking about that. And now today they said,
IR got put on IR on Tuesday. So at least 4 weeks, and they have a bye in there, so at least 5 weeks that he won't play.
Yeah.
Does he come back 6, 7, 8 weeks from now? Does he play it all this year? And then most importantly, what does Miami do? Do they make a move in season here to try to fortify that position? Because they're still, a lot of people think they can still be a playoff team potentially if they can get some production. Is Skylar Thompson the answer? Or a name I threw out to you, does Bryce Young, do you potentially think about a 3rd-round draft pick maybe to Carolina for Bryce Young? Give him a month to get ready and see what you got?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a great idea. I mean, they got Huntley from Baltimore. He's going to be on the practice squad. Look, you're going to go with Skylar Thompson for a couple weeks no matter what. Remember, he started the playoff game against Buffalo 2 years ago.
Almost
and they
won.
Put up points. Yeah, better than they did against Kansas City last year. And I just want to say this. I like Tua. I like him. And remember, he put up gigantic numbers last year. Yep. The problem is when they take on an actual team that can play defense, that offense becomes a gimmick and they get shut down. I am fascinated to watch this game this weekend where they take on Seattle. I want to see what happens. Because look, if you are Tyreek Hill, you are ranked number 1 by all the players in the NFL, the number 1 player. Right. You better get me the ball. This season ain't over for me. We better go win that game.
Right.
I agree. They have to survive the next couple weeks and see if Tua comes back. I have no idea what's going to happen. But I went on other radio shows the last couple of days where they're like, does he play? I think he signed a contract. I think he wants to play again. That's what my guts tell me right now. I think he does play later this year.
I do too, but I don't think it's going to be for 6 or 7 weeks. I think it'll be probably week 9, week 10-ish at the earliest, because I think they're going to be super cautious with him on that. But I'm with you. I think ultimately it's his decision. The NFL can't tell him not to play. The Dolphins can't do it. I think competitive wise, he's going to go out and play one more time before, because I think partially he feels a little guilty because of the contract he just signed and the investment they made in him. I don't think he's just going to, I don't think he's going to retire. I think you'll see him again, week 9, week 10-ish, something like that would be my guess on him. All right, Jacksonville, you're pretty close there. A terrible start, a blown game in week 1 at Miami. Another not very good performance in week 2 at home against a Deshaun Watson Cleveland Browns team who was in disarray. Give me a thought or two about Trevor Lawrence. What's going on there?
Another player that's making $50 million, but maybe maybe we need to just throw that idea out the door. That's every quarterback. They're all going to get paid this now. That's the norm, what you're going to get paid. It doesn't make sense. You see him in person. I've been to Jaguars practice where it's like you stand by him He was the number one pick. I get it. He had Urban Meyer. He's had different coordinators. I get it. But it's like, it's year 4. Why isn't it clicking? And they get him weapons as well. They do.
Yeah.
I don't understand. It's like, and they had that one drive in the third quarter where he throws the 66-yard bomb to Thomas Jr.
Right.
Catches it. They get set up. ETN scores. And you're thinking like, okay, here we go. Let's get it going. But then other times in the red zone, they can't score. It feels like they had that playoff game against the Chargers, and he played out of his mind. He really did.
Second half, yep. Terrible first half, unbelievable second half.
That's his best game. And it's not, you're right, he played for a half. It's like it hasn't clicked. And after a while this season, because they're going to be at Buffalo, I don't think they're winning that game. Yeah. I don't. What are you doing after a while?
Peterson in trouble?
I think if they don't make the playoffs, I think he is, because I think you've decided, hey, we're all in on this quarterback. We got to make this
He ain't going nowhere. He just signed a 5-year extension. He ain't going nowhere.
No, I know. Where's our extension? I want that.
That's right.
Okay? What's going on? It's ridiculous.
Last thing, I'll get you out of here. Give me a thought or two about Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. What a huge win on the road in Detroit. They are under the radar, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody's talked about this team all year. All they've done is go out and play great defense, shut down Goff in their building. Mayfield's playing really good, new offensive coordinator. I really like what I see in Tampa, and a very winnable game, Denver at home Sunday afternoon.
I was on with our guy T-Crass. We were on 360.
Yeah.
And before the season starts, and it's like, well, is this team disrespected? And my thought process at the time, yeah, they are. They're Tampa. You're not in the NFC East. If you're a Buccaneers fan, you got to come to this realization. You're never going to get the love that these other big city market teams do, but that's okay. Hey, stay at the 1 o'clock kickoff. Stay under the radar.
Yeah.
Make sure no one's paying attention to you and keep winning football games. That win, especially with the secondary banged up, was gigantic. I think Baker Mayfield is an MVP candidate. He has saved his career. And remember, he's not making $50 million like these other guys.
Great deal by the Bucs.
It's amazing. He is great. And Chris Godwin looks like he's got a return in him where he's been great through 2 games. That division outside of Carolina, those 3 teams, Atlanta saved their season last night. And that game, we're going to find out about the Saints. When the Saints play the Buccaneers, that is going to be must-see TV. I know no one cares in New York or Dallas or Washington, but man, I'll tell you, in the NFC South, that is going to be must-see TV.
And there's no dominant team in the NFC right now. Nobody's other than, Tampa and New Orleans are probably the best 2 teams, really, if you really assess it. The NFC's wide open here.
It is completely open. And that's why it's so infuriating with my Chicago Bears. If we could just get an offensive line and score 20 points a game, we'll win the damn NFC with our defense.
How surprised are you that Caleb has struggled like he has?
I knew that. See, this thing, I knew that was going to happen. He's never played before. You got to give it a second. Even last year with the Texan quarterback, CJ Stroud, it takes a couple games.
Right.
That's why preseason is a complete waste of time. It's trash. It does not matter what you do. If he can figure this out, this is what I'm saying. We could just hover around 500, let him click.
And the defense is legit. The defense is good.
Yeah, Houston didn't score anything in the second half on Sunday night. Like, they're right there. And they have Keenan Allen and Roma Dunze's when they figure this out, they're going to be dangerous.
I agree. No, I'm with you. I think you got a chance here. If you can get to the if you can tread water till mid-season and let Caleb get his feet under him, if he'll just play within structure a little more and not try to play playground ball 75% of the time, I think you got a chance to have a playoff team there.
Yeah, and that division is going to be tough because Green Bay is good.
Playing good.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Who would have thought, if you're a Carolina Panthers fan, Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield are the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFC right now, and you have Andy Dalton.
And you trade all the merchandise and all the assets. You could have taken C.J. Stroud, but you take Bryce Young.
I think it would have been smarter in hindsight. We can disagree to not do anything. Just stayed at the 9th pick. Try to get players. Keep DJ Moore. Keep him. And then, you're and then next year you would have gotten Caleb Williams or one of these other quarterbacks. Right. They still have to give the Bears another pick.
Exactly. All right,
Oh
Mark
man,
Moses, great job, man. Great analysis. State of Florida, everything. Check out Mark's show Monday through Friday, 3 to 6, Sports Radio 1560.com. Does a great job. Talks to Gator fans. He's got people all over the state calling in. Check it out at Mark Moses Show on X and Twitter, the fan 1079. Phantom National Championship hat that he's going to throw in the washer with the laundry to keep it going.
that's right.
Keep it up, buddy. I appreciate the time. Remember, check us out, Spectrum 360. If you're in the Tampa and Orlando markets, we're on a bunch together throughout the football season. We're on this Friday night. If you're in Tampa and Orlando, me and Mark are talking, I believe we're talking Jags and Tua. Miami,
Yeah.
I think Friday's our Jags and Tua segment. So does a great job on the air, great job on TV, and all around good dude, man. Take care. We'll be in touch. See you next time.
Thanks, man. Have a great night.